Good morning, Tenafly High School. My name is Mr. Barrett. Tomorrow, we observe the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 September attacks of 2001. 20 years ago, 19 militants associated with Al-Qaeda hijacked 4 airplanes and carried out suicide attacks against the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. The 4th plane crashed in a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, after the passengers launched an attempt to reclaim the plane. Their heroic actions most assuredly saved the lives of countless Americans, as Flight 93 never reached its intended target. 20 years is a significant anniversary. 2 decades have passed since these attacks. Those of you who are students here at Tenafly High School were not even born yet. Even for some of the younger staff, they were not old enough to actually have firsthand memories of these events. But many of us do remember. I was here at Tenafly High School. I remember where I was and what I was doing. Like those who lived through the events of the attack on Pearl Harbor or the assassinations of Martin Luther King Jr. or JFK, we remember with explicit detail where we were and what we were doing. It was a beautiful September day. And as the events of that day unfolded, as they were broadcast continuously on the news, we were confronted with the worst terrorist attack in American history. We were not sure if it was the beginning of something or the culmination of something. And in many ways, it was both. Since then, each year we stop and pause to remind ourselves of those events. We've all seen the bumper stickers and decals, the billboards, the ads. Never forget. For most Americans, it's a necessary reminder. But for those who lost loved ones in New York or Washington, D.C., or in Pennsylvania, for all those who lost their lives, the police and firemen, EMT and Port Authority workers, for their families, their friends, for those who were in the towers that day and descended those flights of stairs seeking safety. As I read recently in an article, they don't need to be reminded because they have never forgotten and they will never forget. For each year that passes is another birthday, anniversary, Mother's Day, Father's Day, holiday where their loved one is absent. 9/11 changed the world, but it changed their worlds intimately and permanently. It launched the United States on a campaign known as the War on Terror. And over the last 2 decades, thousands upon thousands of U.S. military personnel have served in wars in Iraq and in Afghanistan. For them, 9/11 too is indelibly stamped on their consciousness. On September 11th, 2001, Darren T. Hoover was 11 years old. And as he watched the events unfold in New York and Pennsylvania and Washington, D.C., he looked up to his father and said, "Dad, I'm going to do something about this." I'm sure his father looked down at his youthful patriotism and admired it, but true to his word, Darren Hoover grew up and joined the Marine Corps. His decision to become a part of the U.S. military services was born out of a desire to help and change the world in direct response to 9/11. 3 tours of duty in Afghanistan, and this, his 3rd tour, was to be his last tour. as he was planning on retiring and getting married and starting a new life. But on August 26, 2021, Darren Taylor Hoover made the ultimate sacrifice as he and 12 other U.S. service personnel were killed in a suicide attack at Kabul airport, along with over 90 Afghan citizens while they were trying to leave that war-torn country. 20 years later, there's a direct line that runs from 9/11/2001 to the suicide attacks at Kabul airport. Ironically, many of the Marines that died there were 20 years old. Darren was the oldest at 31. All the rest were in their 20s. They died while serving their country and attempting to protect others who were strangers to them. 20 years later, 9/11/2001 still exacts a toll on the lives and the loves of American citizens, as well as shaping the world in which we live. It is important that we do not forget. It is important that we remember the sacrifices of the firemen and the policemen, the EMT and Port Authority personnel, to remember the lives lost in Pennsylvania and at the Pentagon and at the World Trade Center towers. It is necessary for us to honor their memory. Will you join me now in a moment of silence for those who've lost so much? How shall we honor the memories and the sacrifices? What is an appropriate response to Patriot Day? Perhaps it is to continue to work for the promise and potential that is America, to strive to realize the ideals expressed in our founding documents, the ideals of life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness, to continue to uphold and defend the values that define America, that make America the envy of so many, and for some, the very reason why they despise us. 9/11 demonstrated the very worst of human nature, but it also showed how we as a country came together, how total strangers offered to help one another, how a simple hello or how are you took on such significance. It provided an opportunity for sacrifice and service. Perhaps the best way we can honor the memory of those whose lives were lost is to love and appreciate those around us, to take every opportunity to show kindness and to strive for a better world, both here and abroad. As we were reminded that day, and on every anniversary since that day, that we should take nothing for granted, that our lives should be marked by a gratitude for the freedoms that so many around the world long to enjoy. And so as we look ahead to the next few months and years, we should commit ourselves anew to those values and beliefs that define us, and to strive to be the best example of what we can be, to honor those who gave their lives, who lost their lives, and who have given so much for our country. Thank you for your time and attention.